I just left them with my car and with my camera, and I'm scared.
Yo, what's up? It's been a while since I have uploaded a full behind the scenes on anything really, but today is the day where I will be uploading a full behind the scenes of one of the music videos that I shot earlier this year. And I promised you that I will be going over everything. The camera equipment, the lighting of every scene, and also how we actually strapped my R5 to my Tesla and it luckily survived. And I will be going over all of this in that video. My name is Damien Cooper and welcome to Monkey Pixel. So the music video we're going to talk about today is with an artist called Ginny, and ever since I shot a couple of music videos for her and I really like her music. It's kind of a pop artist, R&B style, and that is something that I'm into myself, so it was actually a cool thing to shoot with an artist that I think is really talented, new and up and coming. The song is about getting out of a toxic relationship, so that's what we kind of wanted to portray in this music video. So the whole video is about her trying to get away from her ex-boyfriend because they're constantly getting into fights, but then they make up and then he starts to ignore her again, and then throughout the video she finds herself and the strength to actually get away from him, and that's basically what we wanted to portray in this music video. So let's start with the very first scene. For this, we rented a container at the local Vienna harbor, and I think that this location was really cool and we were able to play with a lot of different kind of colors. Her color scheme is very on the pink side, so you'll see these kind of colors represented throughout the entire video. And so we did in the very first scene of that music video. So in order to achieve this look, but not just do the whole thing completely pink, because I could have done that in post as well, we wanted to get a little bit of color contrast. As our key light, we used our Razorlight MC200 light panel, which is a full RGB light panel. And we used it with the softbox that comes with the MC200 panel, so we got a little bit of a softer light and not have to blast her with a full pink harsh light. In order to achieve a little bit of a color contrast, we also used another light in the background.
Now, we're going to use my favorite light with my favorite accessory, and we're going to pin this somewhere in the background of the container.
So for our first scene, I really liked how we lit the entire thing and made it really stylized, and we didn't really need a lot of lighting equipment for this. One key light, one background light to achieve this, because we had a rather small space to work with. This location we got for free because Ginny just reached out to the harbor and asked if we could shoot a music video there, and they were so kind to supply us with even a security guard that was there to just make sure that nothing happens to us, and we were shooting completely for free just in return for some social media shoutouts. So if you're looking for a location, just ask. Basically, if you have a place in mind, just reach out to them on social media and ask what they can do for you and if you could do something for them in return. And most of the times I actually found that very easy and to get even cool locations completely for free. So the way I set this up is the way I usually shoot most of our YouTube videos, and I did a full basic 101 tutorial on how to shoot music videos on this channel, so if you want to check it out, I'll link it up here. But just to repeat myself, we shot everything in 25 frames on the Canon C300 Mark III, and this is all the performance scenes. And after we were done with all the performance scenes, we actually had some shots of her just dancing in slow motion, and we utilized the 100 frames in RAW on the Canon C300 Mark III for this, and it actually turned out very nicely. Since it was still very dark, I think I had to use a little bit of neat video, but I will talk about the editing process a little bit later. As for the lenses, the performance shots were all shot with the Sigma 18-35, which is the lens that I use 90% of the times for all of my work with the Canon C300, because the lens is just absolutely amazing. Then for the close-ups, I did the other way around and I went with a 100mm 2.8 from Canon, and that is a macro lens, so I have absolutely no problems of getting as close to my subject as possible. So the combination of the two is absolutely fire, and that is what I use for probably 90% of my productions. I also shot everything handheld, no tripods, no gimbal, because I didn't really need it for this, and since the whole video was about struggling a little bit, I didn't want it to be too smooth for most of the shots, so handheld it was. So our next scene took place in a bathroom, and we used the bathroom of our Airbnb, and as a color scheme she also wanted to have everything very pink, so pink it was. Story-wise, this was the beginning of the music video, where she's talking to herself in the mirror, trying to gather the strength to actually get out of this toxic relationship. And throughout the music video, she's just getting stronger and stronger, and the music video also ends with her talking to herself in the mirror, but now she actually gained the confidence and the strength to get out of this relationship. In order to achieve the lighting, it was very easy and very basic. We just used our ND-Cine R1, the same pocket light that we used in our first scene, and bouncing it off the ceiling, while I was filming the entire scene, standing a little bit behind the artist. The next scene also took place in the Airbnb we rented for this shoot, and the Airbnb was kinda cool because it had 2 stories, so we could utilize the same space for 2 different sets. The upstairs scene in the bedroom was kind of to show the struggle of her just trying to get out of the relationship, but him also having a somewhat of a decent side, but then everything turned ugly a little later. For this, we used our MC200 razor again. We tried using a lot of pink in the beginning again, but that was just too much pink, so we kind of strayed away from it and then turned it to just a soft white with a softbox. And since we had a really low ceiling, we could actually use the light and bounce it off the ceiling, so we didn't really have to utilize any direct exposure, and that way we got a really nice and even and soft light for our entire bedroom scene. For this shot, we also used the practical lights that were already in the bedroom, which looked kind of cool, and that also gave us a little bit of a backlit situation, and that I liked too. In order to get at least a little bit of color in that scene, and again it was pinkish, reddish, we just placed the ND-Cine R1 in the bed, and that worked very well too. And here we did the same thing that we did in our first scene. We first shot all our performance scenes, all in 25 frames, recorded the audio, and then we used a little bit of slow motion. I think we shot it at 50 frames this time, not 100 frames, and just to get a little bit of B-roll to get the story rolling. Our next scene also took place at the same Airbnb, but now on the lower level. And this is the part of the music video where they're really starting to get into it. They're starting to fight. So we wanted to change the color scheme to blue. Blue gives off a little bit more of a cold vibe, which I thought was more fitting to the whole fighting scene. So we decided to shoot everything with a blue color cast, and we used our MC200 razor light again, and this time just having it on the second floor, just shooting down again with our softbox to get a really even and soft light throughout the entire room. Here we mostly shot everything in slow motion, especially when she's throwing the pillow. We wanted to get the whole slow motion feel, and when they're fighting, so that you could really see the whole struggling scene unfold before your eyes. And we used the Canon Z300 Mark III again in 100 frames in RAW. So the overall Airbnb was rather cheap, and I think we paid about $80 for it for an entire day. So that is way enough to shoot an entire music video. So $80 really isn't a lot, and for a location I can always recommend Airbnbs because they're usually very cheap and way cheaper than if you were to get a film house dedicated for movie productions. So now we only had one more scene left, and that was the scene that I was also a little worried about because I've never attached a camera to a car, let alone my own new Tesla. But I really trusted the equipment and, well, everything for the shot. So I used the Canon EOS R5 and our Zeapon suction mounts, and I attached the camera directly to the hood of my car, and that basically worked very well. So I was very happy that I neither damaged the car nor my camera. In order to be able to see our artist better, we also used a circular polarizer filter to get rid of reflections while they were driving the car through the city at night. As our lens of choice, we used the Canon 20-40-70 to get a little bit closer to our artist, and that worked fairly well too. I did have 4 suction mounts by Zeapon, and usually you would have to have at least a triangle of 3 or maybe even 4, and then get a kind of bracket on top of these suction mounts, and that way you mount the EOS R5 to your car to be more secure, because if one of the suction mounts fail, then you have 3 more to rely on. Unfortunately, I didn't really have a lot of time to get a bracket ready like this, so I only used 1 suction mount, and I put my entire trust in it, and thankfully everything worked. So that's pretty much everything that we used for this music video when it comes to equipment and the lighting. And I will link everything down in the description below so you can check it out and you can get them yourself, the lighting, the camera equipment, as well as the suction mounts. When it comes to the overall editing, it was rather simple. We had somewhat of a story in place, so it was somewhat of an easy cut. In order to get the whole raw cut rolling, Belle helped me out because I really was short on time and she did an amazing job with this. And then afterwards, I, together with Ginny, just polished the entire thing up, added some transitions and did the color grading. And speaking of color grading, of course, we used all of our Canon custom LUTs that you can also purchase on our store down in the description below. And I think those gave the entire video a really cool look and a really contrasty feel. So that's it, that's the entire video. We talked about the gear, we talked about the lighting, we talked a little bit about the editing and the color grading just to promote all that, so go ahead and purchase them. Yeah, that's pretty much it. So if you like that video and if you want to see more behind the scenes like these on this YouTube channel, then hit the subscribe button, like this video because it really helps the channel grow, and I hope to see you on the next one. That was a weird ending, but I'll just leave it at that. I think I kind of liked it, right? Cool, I'm out. Getting a little bit more strong. That is not how you say it. I got the first part, but I got the second part. I was filming with the Canon Z300 and shooting her in the mirror. Shooting her in the mirror. What the f is that? Started off well, and now I'm out of it.